Merab Dvalishvili absolutely destroyed Sean O'Malley in the rematch. Sure, Suga showed a bit of improvement in his defensive wrestling early on, but it didn't take long for the champ to impose his will and dominate with his relentless pressure, non-stop pace, and ground control. It was a one-sided beatdown that left no questions. With back-to-back losses to Merab and the writing on the wall at bantamweight, O'Malley will most likely move up to 145, a move he's teased before. And at featherweight, there's no shortage of fun matchups, including a potential rematch with Aljamain Sterling, who's also now competing in that division. As for Merab, it's time we start seriously talking about him in the bantamweight GOAT conversation. Who else has a resume like his? The guy has run through legends and killers: Jose Aldo, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, Henry Cejudo. The list is stacked, and he's made it look dominant nearly every time. There's not many left for him at 135, and it's hard to argue against him being the best bantamweight the UFC has ever seen. How do you see Cory Sandhagen matching up against Merab's destructive style? Here's what Merab's coach had to say about the Sandhagen matchup.
Cory's a great fighter, and I honestly, I enjoy watching him. I think that he's a very entertaining fighter, and I think he's got like a lot of tools, just like you said, and a lot of things that are, going to be tough to deal with. But I do not believe that it's anything different than Merab has seen before. I think it's stuff that we are going to have just a fine time with, and it'll be a fun fight. But I can tell you this, Merab's going to come out ahead on that one. I feel like we've kind of fought that style before. He is a tough guy. He's tricky, but like I said, for me, I know Merab, and I know what he can do, and I know what I know what we're gonna do. And it's always fun as a coach to game plan against a guy like that. Comes from a great, he's got a great team, great coaches, all that stuff. And it's interesting, but I really, like I said, I think stylistically it works out great for us.
Big John McCarthy and Josh Thomson recently weighed in on the possibility of Francis Ngannou returning to the UFC, and according to them, it's not as far-fetched as fans might think. On their podcast, Josh pointed out that the PFL may no longer be able to afford Ngannou's massive price tag, especially with limited heavyweight talent on their roster. Aside from Vadim Nemkov, who's not even a natural heavyweight, there aren't many appealing opponents for Francis in the PFL right now. That's why Josh believes a UFC comeback is very much on the table, and it makes sense. Ngannou's crossover boxing hype is cooling down, and if he wants meaningful MMA legacy fights, they're all in the UFC. Whether it's a clash with Aspinall or a long-awaited super fight with John Jones that never happened, those matchups don't exist outside the UFC. If the money lines up and egos get set aside, don't be surprised if the Predator is back in the octagon before long. How do you see Francis potentially taking on Tom Aspinall in the future? Can the Predator reclaim his belt? Leave your comments below.
The PFL can't afford Francis anymore. I'm not going to pay you. It's not working out. Like, who are we going to have you fight?
That's the real question.
Nemkov. That's the only guy. There's nobody else for you to fight. So move on. Go fight John. Go back and fight John. Make your 8 million or whatever it is, maybe even more than that now, 10, to fight John Jones. I don't know, whatever it is, but they need something. The UFC needs it. PFL could use a couple other fighters, to add to their tournaments, that fighters that would not potentially ever make $500,000. So bring them over, make the trade, whatever it is. There's already talk of Dakota Cheva being traded over to the UFC for somebody. But I mean, with Francis, you could definitely send him off. Why am I going to pay him $4 million or whatever it is, plus pay his opponent $2 million?
$2 million.
So that's $6 million fight, and you guys are not getting the views right now. There's no love right now. It's like, what's the point? You're really just hemorrhaging money.
Merab Dvalishvili just shared jaw-dropping details about a chaotic incident during his UFC 316 walkout right before his highly anticipated rematch with Sean O'Malley. As Merab made his way to the octagon, the arena was buzzing with energy. Fans were roaring, reaching out for handshakes, and amplifying his intensity. But that excitement took a wild turn when the crowd surged forward, pressing too hard against the barricade. In an instant, it collapsed, sending fans tumbling to the floor and a cameraman's equipment crashing down down, leaving him injured. In the heart of this chaos, things got even crazier. A UFC security guard, caught up in the frenzy, mistook Merab, the reigning champion and main event fighter, for an overzealous fan and forcefully shoved him against the wall. Most fighters might have lost their cool, but not Merab. The Georgian star stayed remarkably composed, handling the aggressive mix-up with the professionalism that defines him. Later, the champ revealed he was laser-focused on preserving his energy for one of the biggest fights of his career, especially against a dangerous opponent like O'Malley. He wasn't about to let a security mishap derail him before stepping into the octagon.
Yeah, so what happened was I'm walking and people tried to touch me, and then, oh, okay, yeah, I tried to jump, touch them, and I guess they pushed the barrier and they went jump, and they almost kicked me in the head, and they almost knocked me out before I walk in. The barrier got broke or something because people push. And, and then, okay, then security put me against the wall, and I'm like, bro, I'm a fighter, let me go, I'm just professional, and I don't, nothing I can do that time, Anyway, that was, thank God, and they told me after nobody got hurt, and everything was good. And do you understand what happened? So they pushed because I tried to touch them, and then they pushed barrier, and they broke it.
What was going through your mind during all of that? It must have been not exactly ideal right before you go out for the biggest fight of your life.
I see what happened. I cannot really help people, or I cannot really do this happened, and I have to make to act again. I was fighting.
I guess the fans just love you so much, right?
Alex Pereira has finally broken his silence on Magomed Ankalaev's push for an immediate rematch, and it sounds like the Brazilian is in no rush. While Ankalaev has been vocal about wanting the fight sooner, and even accused Pereira of dodging June, July, and August dates, Alex says there are no official plans just yet. In fact, Pereira made it clear that later in the year works better for him, as he's taken some time off to recover after a hectic championship schedule. Speaking at UFC 316 in Newark, Pereira didn't just dismiss the urgency, he threw a subtle jab at Ankalaev, claiming that the Russian is using his name for clout because, on quote, no one knows he's the champion. He added that he's not taking the bait, recognizing Ankalaev's comments as mere attempts at self-promotion. According to Pereira, the rematch is likely happening around October, maybe even as late as November, but nothing is set in stone. Despite Ankalaev giving Pereira a public deadline, it doesn't seem like the former champ is phased. He's choosing to stay quiet for now, saying he'll talk when the time is right. And while some fans might interpret this as stalling, from Pereira's perspective, it's just smart timing on his terms. Despite losing a one-sided decision at UFC 313, where two judges actually gave him 2 rounds, Pereira remains confident in his overall strategy. He acknowledged Ankalaev's strong showing, but doesn't believe it exposed any major flaws in his game. Instead, Pereira told UFC Brazil that it's all about the fine-tuning. He emphasized that there's no need to reinvent himself or overhaul his entire approach. According to the former champ, it's just a matter of tightening up a few techniques and making minor corrections. Pereira believes those subtle adjustments will be enough to flip the outcome in the rematch. For a fighter with his precision and experience, those details might be all it takes. That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.